Hi everyone, and thank you for purchasing the Dynamic Flexible Grid 2 Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use it. So if you haven't installed it yet, please refer to a separate video included in the package, and you also have access to a PDF with instructions. So to get started, go to your theme editor and navigate to the page you want to add the section to. On this example, I'm using a testing page to show you the settings of the section. On the right side, we have here the section settings, and we have also the cards on the left sidebar. Let's start with the cards. Inside the card, we have multiple options for the content. So let's start with the title. Let's say we want a custom title that says spring is here. Cool. And we can also use here a custom subtitle, check out our latest collection. Okay, and we can use a link to anywhere on our store, and we can also select to be open in a new tab or on the same tab. If you want to remove the button, you can just remove this, leave it blank, but for this example, let's keep it. Down here, we have a card link. This is optional. So this is a place where you can add a link to the whole card instead of only the button. If you want to add a link to it, you can add it here to anywhere on your store. And also you can select to open the card link on a new tab or keep it on the same one. On this example, let's leave it blank. We have multiple options for the background type. We can select background color or gradient or image. You can select the color in here. Let's say we want this color. Cool. Or if we want a gradient, we select the gradient here and create the gradient that we want. Let's say we want something like this. Cool. For this example, let's say we want a background image. So I'm going to select background image and select the image down here. We add a new one. The card height will be determined by the content inside the card. Right now it's very tall because this image is tall. But if you select another image that is not that tall, then it's going to stay like this. But let's say for this example, we want to keep it with that tall one. Okay, cool. Down here we have the card width. By default it's half, but we have multiple options here. We have 1/3, 1/4, 2/3, and 3/4. Let's say we want this first one to be 2/3. Great. So it's 2/3 of the width of the wrapper. We added one more card styling setting that it wasn't available at the time this video was created, but it will be explained at the end of this video. You can also add a custom height. Let's say we only want to be 300 pixels, so we can do this, and the card height will be 300 pixels. Okay. Also, we have this over here, which enable us to do a hover effect. If we turn that on, we have this effect. But let's say I want to keep it disabled, so I'm going to turn that off. And in here, we have also for mobile, you can select, by default it's going to grab the same image, but if you want to add a different image, well, you can select it here. Let's say we want this image on mobile. Cool. So if we test that out, we'll see that that's the image for mobile. And let's go back to desktop and we keep this image. On mobile, we have some options as well for the width. If you select auto, the width will be determined by the grid. But if you select full width and you have two columns on mobile on the section settings, that card will be expanded to full width. Okay. For now, I'm going to keep it on auto so we can keep the grid. Let's go back to desktop. Now we have the text styling settings. In here, we can select the alignment, which will be left, center, or right. For now, let's keep it center. And we also have the vertical placement. You can select top, center, or bottom. For now, let's say we keep it center. We have also the same for mobile. And in here we have the styling by element. We have the title. Let's say we want the title to be white. Down here we have more styling settings for the title. We can select the top and bottom margin. If we add more in here, this is gonna move down, and the same way from down in here. So for now, let's keep it 0. And then we have the font size. If you leave it on 0, it's gonna grab the default font size on your theme. But if you want to add a custom one, you can select the range in here and add it like this. We also have the line height, which is the distance between the letters vertically. In this case, it's all in one line, so we won't see it. So this is fine. But maybe in the text block, we'll see the difference. We'll test it in a bit. Then on the letter spacing is the distance between the letters on the same line. For now, I'm going to keep it 0 to be default. We also have the settings by mobile. The same, the margins, the font size, line height, and letter spacing. And down here, we have the text block styling. It's the same settings. Let's say we want it also to be white. We can do this. And for show you the line height, I'm going to add more content to it. Like this. Let's say we want to keep it like it was. Okay. So now we can see that line height. If we tweak this, we'll see the distance between the lines vertically. So you can tweak that. Let's say we want this a little bigger. Cool. Down here, we also have the button styling. You can select it to keep it as a button or on the line, which is like this, or just text. For now, let's keep it as a button, and let's say we want to add some margins in here. Cool. In here, you have also the colors for the button. Let's say we want it to be dark. We can do that. And the text color and the border color. Down here, we have the hover colors. We can select to be, let's say, blue on hover. We can do that. Okay, cool. So let's continue with the other cards. As you can see, this we set it to be 2/3. Right now, there's no card in here because this one is half. But if we go to that card and we put it to be 1/3, we'll see that it's gonna fit on the grid. I'm speeding up this process. So let's add some content to this card to show you how you can create a grid cards and to select different card width to create your custom grid. Okay, with that content added, we'll see here that we created a grid with different columns width. The first one is 2/3, 1/3. These ones are 1/4, 1/4, 1/2. This one is full width, and we have here 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Now, if you see here, we have 3 columns with background images, and right now this image is landscape, and this one is landscape as well, but they look here a little taller than landscape. The reason for that is because this image is taller. It's a portrait image. So You can either change this image to be the same as this one, or you can keep the same cropping like it is right now, or you can also select the height for this specific card. Let's say this one we don't want it to be so tall. Let's say we want it to be 380 pixels. So right now this image is still the tallest on in here. So that's why these other images are still tall. But if we make this even smaller, let's say we put 180, we'll see like the other ones, the height of them it's automatically determined by the image, and in this one it's a little bit smaller. Okay, so if you want to keep it default to expand always, you can just remove this, and the columns will stay as tall as the tallest card with content. If you notice on the grid, we have here this gap because we added some custom height to this card. So if you want to use the same logic as this one to keep the column expanding as the tallest element on that row, we can just remove this, and then the cards will be as tall as the image inside of here. Okay, if you want to make this one smaller, you can also do it with custom height. Let's say we want to be just 300 pixels. We can do this. Okay, so but for now I'm gonna keep it as default. Cool. Now we can move over to the section settings. In here we have an option for the section title, and we can style this with the settings, the alignment, and the same as the elements in here with the custom font size. Let's say we want some extra margin. Okay, we can leave it like that. And now down here we have the card styling. So this is for the grid of elements. In here we have gap between rows, which is this over here. We can edit that to be bigger, like this, or we can put it 0, so all the cards are this close to each other vertically. Let's do the same with the columns. Okay, cool. We also have the card border radius, which is this little corner over here. We can increase this to make this curve over here, or we can just remove it and this will stay like this. Okay, then we have the horizontal padding, which is the space inside the card. If I increase this over here, we'll see some extra space in here and the content will stay in the middle. Okay, the same with the padding top. If we had this aligned on the top, we can also add this, and that will add that space on top. Let's say we're gonna keep it as 20, like the other cards. Okay, cool. Now on mobile we can have either 2 columns or 1 column. Okay, now in here we see that some content is not visible. The reason is because the height is not tall enough. We can tweak that by going to the card and making that card height on mobile a little taller. Okay, cool. So now we see that the card is taller and that all the content fits inside on mobile. Okay, let's go back to the section settings. Keep it desktop for now. Down here we have some styling for the button, which we can add custom font. We can increase here the border width of the button. We can also adjust the border radius. Cool. Let's say we want it to be a little bigger. Let's say like this. Okay, now we have down here the section styling. This styling is for the whole area, and we can add a background color. Let's say we want it to be this blue. We can do that, and also the width. You can tweak the width of the wrapper here, or you can select this option to be full width. Okay, so on full width, the whole section expands to the sides, but you still have this option to control the content inside with this range. If you want to keep this content to be also full width, we can disable this and click in here. This will expand the content all the way like the section. Right now we have a gap here because we have some horizontal padding on the section, but if we remove that, the content is reaching the sides. Okay? For this example, I'm gonna keep it like this and put it back around here. Okay, cool. So we successfully added a grid with different types of content on these columns. Now that I see it, none of the columns have a hover effect. To add this hover effect by card, we can go to a specific card. Let's say we want this one to have that effect. We can click on it and enable it over here. Now, if we hover that card, we'll see the zooming effect on that card. So you can leave it like this or disable it. Now, as mentioned earlier on the video, I'm going to show you a new feature that it was added after the first video was created. So I'll explain the new card height styling settings. To those settings, we can go into a card and scroll to the card styling in here. Now, we used to have only card height, which it was a text field where you can put the number of the height in pixels, but now we switched those, but we also kept the custom height that we used to have before. Now by row, we can expand the cards accordingly. The same way we're doing horizontally, we can expand it vertically. I'll explain. Let's say we want this to be a little bigger, to expand 2 rows. Right now we have 1 row, 2, 3, and down here we have 4 rows. Okay, but let's say we want to expand it to be 2 rows instead of 1. Now we can select it, and now that card, it's expanding all the way to 2 rows. If you see here, our grid was changed and now it looks off. The reason that it looks off is because now this is expanding 2 rows and this is only 1. So this card over here, it was pulled from the previous row to this one. And now this space in here is because this card is 1/4 of width, but this space is for 1/3. In order to fix this, we can go into that card and go to the styling settings, and in card width, instead of 1/4, we can put to be 1/3. Cool. Right now, this is now 1/3 as the column on top. So this is 2 rows and 2/3, and this card is 1/3 and also 1/3 the one on top. Now, in order to fill this space, we can either change one of these cards. This card is 1/4 and this card is 1/2. So let's say we go into this card and change it. I'll scroll down. I'll change that card to be, instead of 1/4, to be half. Cool. Now we have two cards in here, half and half. Now we have a full grid of different layouts and different columns on our section. So that's it. Thank you again, and if you have any questions or run into any issues, don't hesitate to reach out to us via the support page on our website. Take care.